What is a monotype? Mono means one, and a monotype is a type of printmaking that creates a unique one-of-a-kind print. Ink is manipulated on a smooth surface and then pressed onto paper. Monoprinting is different from other types of printmaking where additions or multiples of the same image is created. Seen here is a small addition or a set of identical prints. With printmaking, instead of having one original drawing or painting, printmaking is used to create many identical prints so more people can see or own an artwork, or ideas and information can be distributed to a wider audience. Say through the use of protests or concert posters, you're getting your ideas across. Going back to monoprinting, where you're creating unique one-of-a-kind prints, there are many ways to create monotype imagery, and here is something called reductive, subtractive, or a dark field technique. Ink is applied evenly to a flat surface with a roller, then wiped away to expose the light areas. On the right here is the dark green ink is being wiped to create middle values and highlights. Another method is to directly apply ink with a paintbrush. Once this is done, the plate is run through a printing press. Here is an image where a monoprint is created with a cut stencil. This is inked in white and printed on black paper. But know that each time you print, it can be inked using different colors and inking applications to make unique impressions or variations using the same stencils. Other ways to manipulate ink, like the previous slide with the use of stencils, here are found materials of lace and soft textiles that can be used as texture. Applying stencils, found materials, or cut paper designs can block ink to the paper or can be inked in different colors. Here, the print is getting lifted off of inked leaves. This is an example of cut paper stencils and the print on the right using them. So before I go on to show you print examples, I'll show you some materials and a demonstration through a time lapse of how a print is created and run through the press. These are some materials that you'll need to create a monotype. And monotype is where you manipulate ink on a flat, non-porous surface. And here you'll be using a plastic see-through plate. And the benefit of having it see-through is you could put a drawing underneath and use it as a reference. These Aqua inks are water washable, so you just need soapy water to wash them off. You have some brayers, different ways to apply ink, and I'll show you how to do that. So I am going to use a color that's been pre-mixed to create the background. I'm going to put a background on this plate. So I just set aside that plate that was evenly inked up that I'll be using as a background, and I'm just directly applying ink to the Mylar stencil. Sometimes this takes a little bit of time. It could be abstract, it could be illustrative, but this portion takes a little bit of time. And so this is showing you in time-lapse how you could apply ink to a stencil. The stencil is also placed on top of another plastic plate with the image underneath, so it would be easier to clean off and do another. Once this is done, I would place this on top of the printing plate again. You can see here there's not pooling ink or dripping ink. This is a time lapse of getting the dampened paper blotted and dry and getting the and setting up to print the plate. The plate is on the press bed with wool blankets. This is to help push down and get a good impression from the plate to the softened, dampened paper. The newsprint here protects the blankets from any unexpected ink that may get squished out, and I'm running the plate through the press. The press can exert about 1,500 pounds of pressure on the paper, and just enough to kind of embed the ink into the paper fibers. This is something called a reveal. This is the most exciting part, where you get to see the print after the work that you do. So it came out good, clean borders, nothing squished out. And now you can see that the plate and the image is a reverse of each other. As you can see, parts of the unpainted parts of the stencil remain white, and that's the color of the paper, and the image is centered to the paper. And using the same composition, I'll be showing you how to create different variations using different colors and manipulation of ink. So there'll be a little bit more of a reductive technique where you'll wipe away areas using Q-tips, cardboard, or a paper towel. This part is a little bit looser, where I'm just directly applying an uneven layer of black ink on that stencil, where I'll be wiping away, revealing the image. A little more abstract and expressive. Now that I have that stencil placed on that blue background, I'm still going to do a double image, reducing and wiping away another figure. Kind of experimenting with the composition a little bit more with multiples in the same image. Before I actually show you that print, I'm going to flip that stencil around and print a ghost and with a flipped stencil, just to show you how much play you could get with that one stencil and composition. It was really to show you like a small snippet of the potential of what you can do with the same composition and different techniques you can use. Monoprinting is the most is known to be the most expressive and experimental type of printmaking. And here in this sort of time lapse, you can see the same image created in multiple ways. Here I'm hand rubbing the residual ink off the inking plate. Sometimes these can be used for chincolle or cut as collage elements as seen here. And here as the wolves. Chincolle just means a collaged element printed and adhered all together at once. So going back to images of monotype prints, here are reductive or subtractive, also known as dark field monotypes, where an even layer of ink is rolled to a smooth surface and wiped away until ready to print. This artist used the same theme, but with different scenes. She created a suite or series of work that relate to each other about urban cityscape scenes from her daily bus ride. Here's an artist emphasizing the expression of his dogs. So reductive monotype can be explored more loosely or abstractly. The most well-known artist that worked in reductive monotype is Edgar Degas, known for his ballerina paintings. Here's a dark field monotype that has been heightened with white chalk, and he often used color pastels on top of his black monochrome prints. A few more monotypes made by well-known artists. Here is Henri Matisse, who drew with a tip like similar to a toothpick. The next few examples are additive, so painted on a plate rather than wiped. Here's a print done in 2 layers, one in blue and one in red, and the orange of the eyes are applied with a technique called chincolle. Adhesive like wheat paste is put on the cut orange pieces and placed on the plate before running it through the press. So once it goes through the press, the collage elements would be glued down to the paper and printed all at the same time. You saw this earlier in an additive monotype. Here the faces are made with chincolle pieces as well. Another print you saw earlier, the wolves are attached or glued down as chincolle elements. These are still examples of additive monotypes, multiple layers. So this is really a reductive method with several separate layers of color, probably printed 4 times from the blue of the sky, the green and purple on the trees, and the brown, getting that richness. And you can see that the colors here are not mixed, but each layer looks flat and areas looked wiped. Here, the background is inked black. The wings are wiped or reduced, and then she applied star stencils, and a color layer was added. This was one of many similar looking prints, but were like very wildly different in color combinations and layering techniques. So she printed a lot of things called ghost prints, and ghost prints are the second or third impressions of a plate with the leftover residual ink, so they get fainter and fainter. This artist printed many ghosts and then reworked them with many layers until she felt they were finished. And this is a good example of a ghost print or ghost prints. So this is a monotype with screen printing. Screen printing is a stencil method of printmaking. an open mesh that has been painted on and then later printed through or pushed through the screen. So the first print on the left is the original, and the successive prints are ghost prints that get fainter and fainter. And these prints are pulled from the remaining ink left on the screen. So ghost prints can be reworked and printed over to create something completely different. So this is just technical clarification. What I've shown you so far were monotypes, so truly unique prints, ink that is impressed off of a smooth surface. And monoprints are unique prints as well, but have repeating elements that take from the classical use of printing multiples. So monoprinting can be done with any printmaking technique, and the 4 basic types are named by how ink designs are applied to the surface. So one of the most recognized is called relief, or like a stamp, where the surface is carved, inked, and then printed. The next one most people know of is screen print, and that's how shirt designs are printed, where ink is pushed through a stencil design, as you see here. So this is just an illustration of the 4 basic types, and the ink, or the red, is where the ink layers lay on the design to be printed on a surface. So we talked about relief. Well, that's like a stamp where the surface of a matrix or a design is printed. Intaglio is where the incisions are inked and printed. And monotype is a type of planographic where the surface is inked and printed. And what I just talked about right now is the stencil form or screen print, where an ink is pushed through an opening or a stencil. So to clarify again, the difference between monotype and a monoprint is that at monoprint, the word print is used to describe these prints with a repeating design, and mono means one of a kind. So you see in this set of monoprints is the intaglio plate. The incised lines are repeated, but they're all inked differently. This is another set of monoprints that are inked differently, but cannot be exactly reproduced. This image is of screen print monoprints. So you can see the same black element in both images. This is also a monoprint in screen print. This one is Frank Romero's car, and each version is very different. So here's another monoprint using relief. So this artist used stamps to create a scene or drawing that mimics like a battlefield. This is also a monoprint using mylar stencils, and the stencils are repeatable, so you could call it a monoprint, but the texture for each of these layers were blotted and with scrunched foil, and so that would be different for each print. One of her layers here has scratched dry point in her the figure's sweater top. Here is a monotype using an etching plate, and this blue wash was unique for each print she created. I hope you've seen how many styles and mark making are as varied as painting and drawing, and some of the qualities of printmaking, like the surface flatness or clean edges, can only be created in a print. Monoprinting can help artists hone in to their ideas by the nature of creating work in a series, or being open-minded to the unexpected, and just learning a new way to translate an image helps the artist see things differently. Many established artists use printmaking as a medium that parallels their main work, which can be sculpture, installation, or painting. It allows looseness and experimentation that they may not encounter with their usual medium. I hope this gives you a little bit of understanding what is of what is monoprinting and how you can branch out your skills with this fun and experimental printmaking method.